Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. Why do I always say that? Well, because it's true. Because I sing and my students sing, and I'm doing all these demonstrations to teach you how to sing, not just by talking about it, but by physically demonstrating it. So I'm doing the coolest series ever called Isolated Vocals Analysis and Tutorial, and some singing secrets revealed in there. So they're the original raw naked vocal stems that we're going to be discussing little nuance, a line at a time, how they got to these most epic performances. And then we're going to talk about some of the recording process in the process. So with that said, please like and subscribe to my channel. That'd be really cool. I have a singing course, and the course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, and you can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com. I also have a free singing forum with over 20,000 people in there. You can join for free. Check out, see if it's right for you. You want to ask vocal questions? You want to know how something is done? You're doing my course. That's predominantly why I made the forums. If you're doing my course, it's to help you get through it, so you're not alone in doing the course. And it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. We cover all levels in there. There's different stages and levels in there. So definitely check it out. Join it for free. Can't go wrong with that, right? So with that said, so we're going to do Iron Maiden. Again, Bruce Dickinson, Run to the Hills. I'm going to fire it up. We're going to discuss this a line at a time. Here we go.
White man came across the sea. He brought us pain and misery. He killed our tribes. He killed our creed. He took our game for his own need.
Now, I'm going to stop right there. Now, there is some effect on this vocal, but you can tell in the original recording, there's a lot more effect than just what's on here, okay? So sometimes these isolated vocals is not exactly, sometimes it's completely dry and there's no effect on it at all. Sometimes there's a little delay like this one. Sometimes, you know, it's panned left or right, or they have weird guitars in it. In this case, it's a pretty good sample, so we're going to start here. Now, the first thing is it's almost like he's kind of rapping, you know, white man came across the sea. He brought us pain and misery, right? But there's an illusion that he's shouting at you, that he's singing it really heavy, and he's not. He's singing it heavy, but not that heavy, okay? So again, the illusion is because the band is pumping so hard and creating so much energy that he is too. Not quite so much. And this happens a lot with a lot of artists where if you really take a listen to how light their vocals are, now he's not light in any sense of the word, but in a lot of cases where the vocals seem to be a lot more aggressive than they really are. And I think that's an important thing to note so that you're not over singing when you try this. The other thing is he's kind of rapping it. I'm going to back it up one more time. And the reason I want to do this is I want you to hear there's no real note value to hardly any of this all the way up until almost the chorus, right? Now he kind of does give you some kind of reference, like a spectrum of almost singing in whatever key or whatever chords are going by, but not really. It's more of a rap, like, you know, almost like Walk This Way. Hey, did put your kitty in the middle, let's swing like I didn't care. Like every so often, you know, Steven Tyler would give you like a note value that's in the key of whatever the song or chord's going by. He kind of does that a little bit here too. Take a listen, but not much. So I'm just gonna let it play all the way up until the chorus. I may stop it if there's something else that strikes me, but check it out again. Here it is.
White man came across the sea. He brought us pain and misery. He killed our tribes. He killed our creed. He took our game for his own need.
Now, so game, his own need. Hey, like once in a while he's kind of almost in the melody, or in what would it be a melody within the chords themselves, but not really.
We fought him hard. We fought him well. Out on the plains, we gave him hell.
Now, one more thing too. He's so melodramatic, you know. Right? I'm not making fun of it, but he's very, very dramatic, melodramatic in the way he's doing this because it's a pretty melodramatic lyric and he wants to drive in a sort of theatrical sort of way this point home of the drama of what's going on in the lyric, okay?
But many came, too much for free. Oh, will we ever be set free?
There's finally a melody right there, right?
Riding through dust clouds and barren wastes, galloping hard on the plains, chasing the Redskins back to their holes, fighting them at their own game. Murder for freedom, the stab in the back. Women and children are cowards, attack.
Now, before we get to the chorus, even though this recording is pretty old, it sounded like they used like an old Yuri or something like maybe 1173, and I'm not sure, but it sounded like they used like some old school compression. The compression is really even on his voice. Now, it's a little on the dark side, which is kind of unusual, but it's really even. So there's not a lot of dynamic range in the vocal at all, which is fascinating to me. And that's going to be really, it's going to really show up in the chorus because he sings the chorus pretty heavy and there's a lot of range in the chorus. And I suspect it'll be quite as even as well. Now, I want to talk about the actual singing part of the chorus after I play it. Here we go.
Run to the hills, run for your lives, run to the hills, run for your lives.
Okay, now, a lot of people go, wow, there's all this range, and wow, how hard this song is to sing. And it is. It really is, especially if you sing the verses really hard and you pound on the low end of your register and then try to release and relax the throat to get up. So especially if you're doing the song end to end and you're singing it live in a band, I recommend that you don't do that and sing the verses very hard. In fact, I recommend you kind of go to the chorus first and warm up your voice safely first. I cover all this in my singing course, by the way. Warm up safely first for half hour, 40 minutes or whatever, take a 15-minute break or whatever, and then start singing the chorus. Now, here's a really odd way that I want you to start to do the chorus, okay? I want to back this up to the chorus. Let me find it here.
Fighting the back.
Here we go.
Women and children are cowards, attack.
Okay, I'm going to play the first line.
Run to the hill.
I want you just to do the very first line. Run to the hills, hills, right? Now, I'm not in voice. I actually haven't warmed up today. Shame on me. I should have before I did this. But it's kind of cool because then you can see me how I would work this up myself. I would have warmed up and then I would have done this. But I want you to do it really soft. Run to the hills, right? You can do as wide vibrato if you want or do no vibrato until you can develop that. But I want you to start out using a lot of head voice and bringing your head voice into your chest just to get a feeling for how it's supposed to feel in the throat, okay? That's the first thing. The reason I want to do this is because I want you to go, run! Just do that. Run! Real soft. Run! 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 Cut the air back. Cut the sound back. Run! Run! Run to the hills! Right? And I want you to actually sing this really lightly, and little by little, as the voice wakes up, I want you to run, run, run to the hills, right? And what you're gonna find is as you wake the voice up, you're able to do this fairly softly and kind of get a run. And I want you to go back and forth with some sirens, or some sliders, some sirens, so that you can get this feeling of going from chest to head to chest to head. So let's do this really quietly. Run to the hills, run for your lives. Right. And get past the register break to where you don't hear the break. So, run to the hills, run for your lives, right? And as your voice wakes up and as your head voice wakes up, by the way, I cover all this in my singing course where you build your chest up to a certain, note value, and then you build your head voice up nice and bright to match the tonal qualities of your chest voice, and then you can bring your head voice down into your chest and create percentages or mixes of this. So, now check this out, right? It's going to make it even easier. Go, run! And take one word and try not to have any note value at all. Just a siren, just a slider. Run! Run to the hills. Run to the hills. Run to the hills. And I want you to go in some sliders back and forth, and you're going to go, what a trip. I can actually connect. I can sing the same high notes that he's singing. I know I'm not in pitch. I know I don't have any absolute notes, but I can actually see myself getting there. I can run to the hills, run for your life, right? And as you do these sliders, as you get the words out. So first what I do is I do it without the words. Ah, right? And then you can add the words. And then eventually you can add the note values little by little to strengthen the voice. Now do it really gently and quietly, bright, but gently and quietly first. And as you go through this, you're going to go, holy cow, I can actually sing Bruce Dickinson. Now I'm not singing all the notes, and I know I'm pitchy as heck, right? But I'm getting the range that I never had before, and I'm able to get to these notes. Now what I need to do is practice this gently and lightly. And by the way, there is a build up to this. It's not this simple. I'm not trying to make it sound like, okay, we can all become Bruce Dickinson if we just do this one thing. There, in my course, I cover this. We have to build up a lot of strength and a lot of stamina and a lot of intonation in the notes and self. So I'm not trying to say there isn't all that. I cover that in the course. But as a simple tester to kind of get your feet wet to see how this works, is you can get all this stuff and go, holy cow, I can do this. Now, diaphragmatic support plays a huge role. Relaxation plays a huge role. Vowel modifications and the placement of the vowels in the throat play a huge role. So all this matters, but I'm just saying, try it. Run to the hills. Run, 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 right? And just even take a single word and do a slider, and you're going to go, I can't believe it. I can see myself singing an Iron Maiden song. Is that the coolest thing ever? How many people know about this, right? Why doesn't somebody teach me this? Well, I am. I'm teaching it to you right now. And we're going to take a break after all this, and I'm going to show you also why his voice sounds even bigger. So if you notice here, his voice doesn't sound that big. It's cool. It's epic. Like, I don't even think Bruce realized how epic this was going to become, and legendary when he was doing it. I think it was just Iron Maiden. They were doing a song. He liked it, whatever. He had no idea that these songs would define him as a singer and become so legendary. How cool is that? Like, we're listening to this stuff that's like almost sacred. It's so legendary, right? But it's interesting too, because when you really listen to it, it's just human. It's just human. It's not like superhuman. There's some that seem kind of superhuman, but it's human, and you can incrementally develop yourself to a point to where you can get to this level if you spend the time with correct information and you really work at it. All right, let's continue.
Run for your life. Run to the hills. Run for your lives. Soldier blue in the barren waste.
By the way, at the end of this chorus, I want you to listen really closely. I can hear cuts throughout it actually, but you can hear a really definitive cut in how close he is to the mic. You can hear the cut from your lives, soldiers through in the barren waste, right? You can hear this actual stop. So it's not a one take thing. I mean, they went in and they did this over and over and over again. So as it may seem, superhuman and super wow, like he just did this in one take, that is not at all the way these recordings are made. They do these lines over and over. Sometimes they'll even get a word or even a syllable if they don't like the way something happened, and they'll cut and paste it and put it in. So just know too that there's a humanity in this. There's a humanness. They're not demigods, so they're not these gods running around that own. And he does an amazing job live. He's one of the few guys that have kept his voice after all these years too, where a lot of people with this range have completely lost it, okay?
Hunting and killing is a game.
Here we go. I'm just going to back this up. Listen for the edit. Listen for the punch.
Run for your lives. Soldier blue in the barren waste. Hunting and killing's a game. Raping the women and wasting the men. The only good Injuns are tame.
Now, in this verse, it's kind of interesting because you can tell his voice is a little dirtier than the first verse, right? And for those of you that know about distortion and how to distort your voice, you know, as you're sing for maybe 45 minutes an hour or whatever, you can get more dirt out of your voice as you go. Case in point to this, I don't know when I'm going to release these, but I did a tutorial on, what was it on? Oh, it was on Disturbed, and I did Sound of Silence. And at the beginning, I hadn't warmed up, and at the very beginning, I'm not as dirty on my sound and trying to demonstrate it. And you can hear it as it progressively gets more dirty as I want to lean into the sound, as my voice wakes up for distortion. I can do that, and you can plainly hear that here, where the second verse is more aggressive, more intense, and more distorted.
Selling them whiskey and taking their gold and saving the young and destroying the old.
Now, I want you to notice one more nuance about this and listen really, really closely. And you're probably going to go, oh, wow, I never noticed that. I'm going to back up this verse one more time, especially raping the women and stealing their gold, or that whole line, whatever, is that there's a slight doubler effect in his voice to make it sound bigger, and makes it sound, it takes the harmonics of a single line and it spreads it out and makes it sound more round, and there's more dimension because there's pitch. One's a little sharper in pitch on one side and one's a little lower in pitch on another. So it makes it sound like there's three people singing at once. Now, there was an old, very, very effective reverb unit called AMS. It's an old British reverb. And it was used predominantly on drums, like Phil Collins in The Air Tonight. It had this really great gated reverb on it. I can feel it calling in the air tonight, right? Well, they had another effect on it. It was a doubler effect that worked really well. And it sounds like that's what he's using here, because there weren't a lot of doublers back in the day like this, except that one doubler that a lot of people used, including Dio. I mean, like a lot of people use this doubler effect. So I want you to listen really closely to the end of how you actually hear a slight three voices, not just one, as far as the pitch that comes around the main lead vocal. Check it out. Listen.
Selling them whiskey and taking their gold and saving the young and destroying the old.
You hear that?
Run to.
Now you hear the punch before it goes into Run to the Hills. Check it out. You can hear pun to
their gold and saving the young and destroying the old. Run to the hills. Run for your lives. Run to the hills. Run for your lives.
Now, what I really like about this too, this raw recording, is unlike all new songs today, they didn't take the first chorus and cut and paste it to the second chorus. You can tell he actually sang it a second time. Not just because of the end trill he does on the last line, but through the whole thing you can tell there's a different energy, because the band has a different energy, because the energy picks up in this song, as you know, and it's getting the setup for the guitar solo coming up. So he re-sang it rather than just cutting and pasting like a lot of people do today. So I'm going to go past the guitar solo because there isn't one here. So let's just move on up right here. And
Run to the
now
hill.
you hear the that overlap at the top, and he comes back in to sing. That was an edit, and you hear even edits on each one of these little things that he does as he's going up. Chances are what he probably did in the studio was he was developing it. He was, creating it as he went, right? Discovering what sounded good and what didn't. We talked about discovery in the studio. So he was actually inventing and developing this, I think, as he went. Now, they probably had a lot of rehearsals, and maybe he did practice some stuff. So I'm not saying that for sure, but it kind of sounds like that because it sounds like he's trying to get a buildup to get to the end chorus. So let's listen for the scream. Listen how the scream overlaps into the chorus. It's an obvious punch where he comes in with the chorus underneath the scream. Here, check it out. Here we go.
Run to the hills. Run for your lives. Run to the hills. Run for your lives. Run to the hills.
Different version. He's singing it.
Run for your lives. Run to the hills.
awesomeness. Bruce Dickinson throwing down. Again, how epic to get to sit here and to just like be able to listen to one of the greatest songs in all of rock history and listen to how it was made. And again, like no one knew what the song was going to become, right? So I want to move over here to the mixing console, and I want to show you though, in the actual original, in the album version, there was more effect going on, and especially in the chorus, and there's some harmonies and other things that aren't here. But I want to show you how much bigger it gets and how much more of a monster it makes him sound when I add a little effect. So I've pre-done some effects, and I've done this on some of the other analyses that we've done. All I'm going to do is add a little bit of two different kind of room sounds. One a very, very short ambient room, and one with a bigger room, and then a delay. But what I also did was I set up 3 different harmonizing effects for the lead vocal in the chorus only, because if you listen to the album, and I did, the verses don't have the big chorusing effects as much. It's there, but it's not as much. So I'm not going to do one for the verses, though I'm going to play it and show you how the difference of it. So I'll do it just raw first, one time through, and then I'm going to show you the version that has the effect on the chorus only, so you can see how much bigger the sound is, okay? So I'm going to reset up the camera to get a little closer to me so you can see it and reposition the microphone. Let's do this now. Okay, cool. Now let's check this out where we're going to listen to just the isolated vocal with whatever little effect is on there, some delay. And we're going to listen all the way from the second half of the verse through the chorus one time. And then we're going to listen to it from the isolated vocal, second half of the verse with the same minimal delay. And then when it hits the chorus, you're going to hear my version of the effects that I've added. Okay, so this is really important so you can kind of get a feel for what's going on. And then what I'm going to do is when I get to, I'm going to play it one more time, just the chorus, and I'm going to A-B back and forth, the solo vocal alone, then with effect, solo vocal and effects, so you can really hear the difference of the contrast of how big it really gets, okay? So let's just do this now. Here we go.
Riding through dust clouds and barren wastes, galloping hard on the plains, chasing the redskins back to their holes, fighting them out their own game. Murder for freedom, the stab in the back, women and children are cowards attack. Run to the hills, run for your lives, run to the hills, run for your lives.
Okay, now I'm going to do this version here where in the chorus only the effect comes in. Here we go.
Riding through dust clouds and barren wastes, galloping hard on the plains, chasing the redskins back to their holes, fighting them out their own game. Murder for freedom, the stab in the back, women and children are cowards attack. Run to the hills, run for your lives, run to the hills, run for your lives.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just toggle back and forth between the vocal with no effect, or what little effect is on the track already, and then adding effect. That very first one I had too much doubler, so it sounded like a racquetball chord. Sorry, I meant to delete the original vocal or had some slap effect, but I took it out quickly. But anyway, so check this out. Listen closely. I'll go back and forth and toggle between the two. Here we go. Check it out.
Run to the hills, run for your lives, run to the hills, run for your lives.
Pretty tremendous difference, right? All of a sudden it just gets as big as a house and you're like, wow, man, what a difference that makes. So it makes us sound like even more of a monster. So if you already have a good track to work with, like Bruce, and then you want to make it bigger and bigger, that's how it's done. Now, like I said in my tutorial, they don't use that much in the verse. It's kind of when the chorus, when a lot of this kicks in, though you can hear the doubler in the verse. It's just they use more of it and a lot more effect in the chorus, okay? Hopefully this was helpful and had some good information for you, and definitely check out my next video.